Okay.
Nice work.
Sharp little pinpricks. Directions to the Sharp's base. We've got a new base, and you lot best keep the law away. Directions to the low town sneak below. But don't come unless you've got good news, or you'll get an answer square between the eyes. Ignacio Strand. Okay. So, I'll come back to those later. There's one other place I want to clear out to an extent. And then I will come back. I don't know if more bad guys will spawn after that notification. I think it's possible, although it generally doesn't. I'm going to assume it generally doesn't happen. They might send out scouts to see things. But for right now, I'm going to check a couple of different areas. Okay. Everybody. You know what? Let's pull him farther back. Pull him farther back. Keep coming. Alright, there we go.
What?
That's the last of them.
Okay. Here they come. Everybody. I'll have to get out of one. Go around here for a moment. All right.
They got me!
Is that all you got? It's done.
Yeah, it's not good to have criminals pretending to be guardsmen. That's bad. It's incredibly bad, actually. I'm glad I brought Aveline along for this. She has to be deeply offended by this. Deeply offended. For her. In future fights, probably a heal. This looks really promising, yes. At the same time, though, yes, maybe this would be good. This would be good. Yes, Winter's Grass. Friendly fire is an issue with these. This not so much. It can be. But I will eventually, I will get that too. That is really good too. But it takes 5 of them, but still. Would-be Death Hex would be nice. Okay. I'm going to do something. I wonder. Let's go to the daytime. Let's go back to Uncle Gamlin's house. Show me. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's enough out of you.
Everybody. All right.
Bianca, baby, introduce yourself.
Whoops. Sorry, Hawk. Gotta be really careful with that friendly fire stuff. Yep. Sometimes sometimes they're too close, sometimes they're not. I haven't quite figured out the how the two things mesh together. Wait. Actually. Yeah, you keep that. Eveline, I'm going to keep that off. No, not the right choice. Incorrect choice. Okay. Mm-hmm. Alright, take that out. Mm-hmm.
I'll kill you! Boy, take you!
Oh, yeah? Perfect.
Better luck in the next life.
I deny you!
Alright, ready? Hit him?
It's done.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Nothing there. Ah, there's more of them.
I got one! There's probably a lesson here about the dangers of magic.
Oh, Bethany. You come off all, my sister comes off all sweet and innocent, but she's actually got a bit of a sarcastic voice to her. She's got a bit of a wry drag with her. Hit him again. There we go.
Don't give them an inch!
Okay. Alright. Okay, very good, boy. Yep. Traps. We'll wait on that. We'll wait on that. We'll wait on that. Okay. Okay. Friendly fire crims becomes an issue. I will get that, but for right now, we've got enough crowd control. I mean, it's often difficult for me to use Bethany as it is due to friendly fire issues when it comes to simple fireballs. So there is utility to explosive shot, but for right now, I'm going to hold off on it. Hey, you're a real guard.
Evening, Rose. What do you suppose goes on in there?
Oh, Bethany. We'll have a visit there and then you will understand. Let's check this area up here. There we go. We will sell that junk. Probably minimal money. The sky is beautiful at night. A bit overcast, a bit dark and foreboding. Even ominous. But I love it. It's beautiful. In fact, I like the entire architecture of the city. Okay, we've checked that. I wonder. Mother's home is here. Actually, our family's home. wonder if the guards will do anything. Oh. Okay. I mean, Aveline is a guardsman. I wonder if the guards will help. Now take this turn. And here we go.
I'll kill you.
Okay. Okay. Let's go.
Let's finish this.
What the heck? Yes.
Be a lesson here about the
Okay.
Smash 'em good.
Most of life, but not my choice.
All right. So far, we've been doing very well. But these are just gangs. Just because they're wearing the armor of a guardsman. I don't even think it's that good of armor. I think it's fake replicas. Or cheap, relatively shoddy copies. Alright. Okay. So far, so good. Well, actually, not that good. You guys just stood there and watched, didn't you? You do know Aveline is a fellow guardsman. Come on. Or guardswoman, I should say. But still, come on. You could have helped. Your lack of assistance was not appreciated. Aveline, when you take over the guards, you better do something about this. If you take over the guards. I think you should run the guards. Because if you ran the guards, then you'd make them fight for us. Or you'd make them help. They'd have to. You could command them to. Seriously. I hope you take over the guards so they will actually do something and help a fellow guardsman locked in deadly combat with a gang. With a criminal gang. I wonder, how far into the building can we go? Okay.
Easy as pie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's come back then. Still, this portion of the city is quite beautiful. No.
I don't make my guards fight gangs in dark corners, but if you'd like to help...
Certainly. I am. Everybody. Hey, guardsmen, help us. Help us, guardsmen. People, help us.
Go for the face!
Everybody?
You are not.
That's a lot.
That was beautiful!
Let's come back here. I've got a different idea. There you go. Let's go. Good job, Evelyn. Hopefully this won't knock away. Okay.
Remind me never to get on our bad side. Seems to be unhealthy.
Indeed. Okay, we'll try this. That was good. Directions to the Shallow Guard Base. We've got the barracks set up here in Hightown, and Captain Quirth expects you for training. We won't convince a blind man if we do everything by the book. Show up or ship out. Pellard. Okay. Alright. Let's make sure that we picked up everything. Alright. Right. Before we go, let's read a little bit more about some of the items that we have. Come on, Leandra and Bethany, let's read a little bit more. I know Galen doesn't want to. Longbow of the Avars. We investigated the area as per your instruction. It seems Warden Fiona is correct. It was once a dwarven fortress that one of our scouts called Kol Barras. Regardless, it has fallen to ruin and the taint now. Despite Fiona's description, there were no darkspawn to be found. If they were ever present, they have since moved on. Which, if you ask me, seems highly unlikely. Her tales of this darkspawn who speaks must be a product of a fevered imagination. There are no signs of a library in the fortress, nor any indication that the Grey Wardens or King Merrick were there at all. One of my men did, however, find something in a section of the deep roads not far away. A longbow of Avar origin, amidst darkspawn corpses, the age being hard to judge, considering how the creatures deteriorate. I suspect the bow belonged to Cal Ap Morgan, the warden who sacrificed himself to facilitate Fiona's escape. If so, he put up an impressive fight. We found no evidence of his body. Sadly, I shall send the bow to you in Weishaupt, from a letter found on the body of a courier killed by bandits in the Anderfels at 920 Dragon. A curious thing, Perrin. I found the axe, this is for Bard's honor, among Kaelin's belongings, wrapped in damask cloth. Initially, I thought it might be another gift from that Orlesian harlot. Oh, they're talking about Celine, I think. I've heard rumors of this. but they all seemed pretty wild. That Kaelin and Selene were considering being with one another and replacing Anora. But this came out after Logain was pardoned effectively and became a Grey Warden. And the story came out about his suspicions. It was pretty enough thing, and the markings on the blade certainly seemed imperial. I even went so far as to confront Kaelin with it, and do you know what he said? The axe was of personal importance to his father. So why wasn't it buried with his ashes, I asked. Because my mother wouldn't have approved. I wondered if he was lying, but Kaelin's terrible at it. I did some digging, and are you aware that there was an elven woman seen in Merrick's company shortly before the Battle of River Dane? There was a rumor, I understand, that they were lovers, and that she was a bard. Was Merrick being blackmailed? I wonder if this has anything to do with that mysterious bequeathment to those elven families in Orlais. Of course, I had Kaelin dispose of the axe immediately, from a letter written by Queen Anora of Ferelden, 927 Dragon. Yeah, Selene is the quote-unquote harlot that she's referring to. Empress Selene of Orlais. The Battle of River Dane is among the most famous in Ferelden's history, fought at the onset of the Dragon Age in a bid to secure the country's independence from Orlesian rule. Arms of the River Dane. The Ferelden army was cobbled together from commoners and bands who had turned against the Orlesian usurper, King Merrigan. Even so, under the leadership of Logain Mac Tyr, they scored an astounding victory against a large force of chevaliers, fording the River Dane. Afterwards, Logain was hailed as a Ferelden legend, but for a time veterans of the battle enjoyed similar status. The soldiers' possession became prized mementos, particularly the suits of armor belonging to those early supporters, who joined Merrick after the death of his mother Moira, the rebel queen. Folktales suggest that the Maker's blessing lives on in the armor those brave allies wore on that fateful day. Fiona. Duncan became Ferelden's commander of the Grey in 910 Dragon, assuming the mantle from Captain Polara, under whom he had served since the Order's restoration in Ferelden. Polara, who hailed from Antiva, had built an amiable relationship with King Kaelin. She overcame many of the objections of Terran Logain, who had argued strenuously against the Order returning. After all, the Wardens had attempted to overthrow the Ferelden throne centuries before. When Polara disappeared, perhaps recalled to Weishaupt, although none in Ferelden saw her leave, nor have seen her since, Duncan bequeathed to her son a silverite sword of great value. Duncan said he had wielded it and a twin in younger days, back when he had been a far different man. He named the axe Fiona after a warden who inspired him, and suggested that the son ought to take a similar inspiration from his mother. It's unknown what became of Polara's son, other than that he fled Ferelden during the same blight in which Duncan perished. And finally, the arms of Mac Tyr. Terran Logain Mac Tyr was not born a nobleman. It's said his family descended from freeholders in the western Banorn, a region known as Oswin. His father Gareth would have had no surname of his own. He likely would only have described himself as of Oswin, or Bain Iswin, as the region would have been known in the old tongue. The name Mac Tyr means son of the land. It was bestowed upon Logain by King Merrick after the Battle of River Dane. The Ferelden people considered the name highly appropriate. To them, Terran Logain was the son of the entire nation, and he was famously said to have told the crowd that Ferelden would forever be part of his blood. After Logain's betrayal of King Kaelin at Ostagar in 930 Dragon, the general became as reviled as he had once been revered. His manse in Gwern was looted, and many of his personal possessions stolen, among them the armor he wore at the Battle of River Dane. That armor is said to have had special significance to the man. One peculiarity of the armor was a square of red silk pinned to one of the shoulder belts. For luck, Logain once explained. And then finally, King Merrick's helm. King Merrick Theron, widely regarded as a hero by the Ferelden people for liberating the country from Orlesian rule, disappeared at sea while en route to Wycombe in 925 Dragon. He was to attend a gathering of the Marcher Lords in an attempt to forge a union in the north. When he failed to appear, the Free Marchers fell back into the petty squabbling that they are infamous for. Terran Logain spent almost 2 years searching for his lost friend, consuming much of the royal treasury and the majority of the Ferelden navy. The search was futile, and when Logain claimed that Orlais had purposefully sunk King Merrick's vessel in order to prevent Marcher unity, he was called off by his daughter, Queen Anora, and a united Banorn. It was time to mourn the king, they said, and so in 927, a massive state funeral was held in Denram's chantry. To this day, rumors insist that Merrick is still alive, perhaps held in an Orlesian prison somewhere. I doubt that. The lasting mystique has increased the value of his personal possessions, leading to the theft of several artifacts from the royal palace. Among these was the helmet said to have been worn by a young Merrick at the disastrous Battle of West Hill. Okay. Well, that was all interesting. I wonder. Later.
Quality. The armor. The best outside of... You want daggers? Got them. Them too.
Okay. After we've got a little bit of training working together, fighting some of those gangs. I think that it's time that we deliver the amulet. One thing though first. This Emporium. The Black Emporium. Let's check this out, see what this is all about. Okay.
Customer. Thaddeus, stand straight. Places, everyone. Welcome to the Black Emporium.
Andraste in nude repose, invisible. Can stone lie with purpose? Can it beckon with raw feminine command, yet shine with an inspiring virtue? That challenge was posed to sculptor Arwan de Glace, artisan and son of Empress Vuglian of Orlais. It was busy work and rhetoric in a time of excess, but answer he did, with the reserves of a nation and a passion unhealthy. His subject, Our Lady, though not as depicted in traditional statuary. Arwan's mad ambition summoned the form of Andraste's uninterrupted by the trappings of war and devoid of the vestments she assumed after death. It was living, commanding, obscene, yet inspired. To gaze upon it was to be enthralled, spiritually and physically. It was the latter that alarmed Chantry officials, I bet. They blanched at the thought of Our Lady, being possessed of such a base appeal, even as they too were drawn. The work could not be destroyed without threatening the balance between empire and hallowed, so grave censorship was enacted under the guise of honoring. Enchanters were tasked with extending the ethereal that hides the fade, drawing it around the form like a cloak. Our Lady remains in the stone and in this world, but mortal eyes are forever denied her treasure and glory. Oh, God. She is veiled in every sense. Oh, people. This is so silly. As in all things, unintended consequences must vex those with pure intentions. Modesty would have been better served by a thickened sheet, drawn back when techniques were to be studied. As it is, the sculptor's skills are accessible only to an exploring touch, defining the shape by intimate caress. All manner of strange congress has stemmed... Oh, I do not want to know. I do not want to know. Has stemmed from tempted hands and the innocent wish for clarity. From art and shame, forbidden wonders of faith by Phocion de Petit Foray. Translated by Philem Abard. I do not want to know about their congresses.
Don't fondle and trust.
No, I am not going to do that. The pickled apples of Arlathan. I expressed my incredulity to the shop's assistant, who coldly noted that he did not like my implication. He insisted that every article in the Black Emporium was genuine. No fakes, imitations, or cheap knockoffs, so every article is genuine. I must have appeared unconvinced. This doesn't interest me as much as the nude statue of Andraste that people developed bizarre and rather of eye-rolling fetishes for. I must have appeared unconvinced, for the assistant narrowed his eyes at me and disappeared into the bowels of the shop, returning several minutes later. He removed the jar of pickled apples from its display case and proceeded to carefully, reverentially, remove the wax seal from the lid of the jar. I watched with fascination as the jar was opened, and a single rosy apple pulled from it. It looked as if it had been picked just that day at the peak of ripeness. With a paring knife, the assistant cut the tiniest sliver of flesh from the apple and presented it to me. The flavor of that one small sliver was astonishing. It was as close to a perfect apple as there ever was. I will say that it must be tangy, because sweet apples are disgusting. It must be a tangy apple, or a sour one. I was experiencing the essence of every apple ever eaten, and that ever will be eaten. When it was over, the sense of loss that filled me was sharp enough to move me to tears. The rest of the apple was returned to the jar, which was then resealed. I paid 5 sovereigns for that single taste, and I believe I got the better part of the bargain. From the letters of Brother Ferdinand Genitivi to Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. I prefer oranges and tangerines, but when it does comes to apples, I prefer that they be tangy or sour. Definitely not sweet. Ugh.
Plebeian items. Take what you like. No charge.
Thank you. Oh.
No charge, Thaddeus. You hear me?
Thank you. I received the box from a man I met in the Silent Plains. He spoke little and would not reveal his name. For reasons I shall not detail here, I had been kidnapped and left for dead in that gray, wind-blasted wasteland. After days of walking, I was parched and close to death. I was about to dash my head on a rock to speed my passing when the man arrived. He possessed a water skin containing ample water for a person traveling from our location to the Imperial Highway. From there, he said, I could find my way to Solus, or Paravantium. He offered to give me the water skin if I agreed to take 3 things from him: a glowing crystalline shard, a bronze sphere, and an iron-bound box with no hinges. I answered the man that if he wished to have these items delivered. He said that he merely wanted me to have them. It was an odd request, but I was too weak and too desperate to think much of it, and so I agreed. The man put the items into a leather sack, which he handed to me along with the water. What about you? I asked. He said nothing, only pointed in the direction from which I had come. There's nothing that way, I said. He merely smiled at me. I found the Imperial Highway about a day later, and a caravan driver agreed to take me to Paravantium in exchange for the large glowing shard. In Paravantium, I bartered the bronze sphere for new clothes and a room at the inn. That night, I examined the iron-bound box and found no way to open it. I held it to my ear and thought I heard a slow, measured breathing coming from within. My mind was afire with curiosity, and I obtained from the innkeeper a large hammer, thinking to smash the thing open. The moment the hammer touched the box, it shrieked, the shrill sound piercing the depths of my soul. I gave the box to the innkeeper in the morning and felt better for having rid myself of it. Well, I'm glad you survived, and I think you did the right thing with the box. Worried about the other poor fellow that helped you. A page torn from a mysterious journal, on display in the Black Emporium.
All manner of crafting lore gathered from throughout Beta. Price is negotiable.
A vessel of tears. Although this wax-stopped vessel is clearly labeled "Tears Shed During the Burning of Treviso," many questions remain, not the least of which is, which burning of Treviso? When the Kunari conquered it in 635 steel? When it was burned by the liberating armies of the White and Black Divines during the Second Exalted March of 752 storm? Or when it accidentally burned to the ground in 862 Blessed after a dockhand knocked over a lantern in a warehouse full of lamp oil? Even assuming the correct event could be determined, the question of whose tears have been collected numerous remains. Presumably not any of the numerous fire victims. Surviving relatives, perhaps? Nobles with summer homes on the Antivan coast? It should be noted that nowhere in the label does it say that these tears were shed in relation to the event. So they could have been the tears of a woman in Mont-Samard, weeping because she was not asked to dance at the last costume ball, unaware that at that very moment one of the greatest port cities of Thetis was aflame. From the letters of brothers Ferdinand Genitivi to Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. I doubt that it was someone so unconnected to the event, though. Yes, it is possible, but I think these tears almost certainly, to have any worth or value at all, and to be in such a numerous amount, almost certainly had to be associated somehow, in some way, with the actual burning. Hey.
Don't manhandle.
Oh, no. No, I certainly was not doing that.
He's not for sale.
No.
Find your own.
No.
That governs me. is Thaddeus Gigantus Crumbum the Third. He's my favorite.
Okay.
Look around. So many things to admire.
And the box is screaming. Wow, the box just screamed. Crafting materials. Grenades. Okay. Health potions. For the time being. Okay. Okay. Maybe later. Okay. Wait on those. I don't know. Pick up 2 more. Hope I don't regret this.
Those rare, enchanted goods are the prizes of my collection. Most of socks. You can never have enough socks.
That's true, because when you walk a lot, you do burn through socks. It's always good to have them. Definitely. We'll be back. Thank you. Xenon the Antiquarian. You might as well speak. You were nice enough, kind enough to invite me here.
I am the great and magnificent Xenon, the Antiquarian. It's so rare to have company. Well, living company. At any rate.
ride. I'll cut you open. You're going through quickly. Back. Take this. Get back.
Okay. Flint Company Kuros. You received the invitation? Then you are fortunate indeed. Xenon is no ordinary man. I kind of gathered that, as you will discover for yourself when you enter the Black Emporium. The item you see resting in the chair is not one of the displays. Rather, it is the proprietor. It may speak to you. That's Xenon, using the mystical bauble that has allowed him to communicate since he lost the power of speech. The story tells that Xenon was a Kirkwall nobleman in the Age of Steel, almost 300 years ago. Obsessed with the pursuit of eternal life, he made a deal with a powerful witch. Some say it was the legendary Antiquarian Witch of the Wires. That sounds like the Witch of the Wilds. I guess that's a common myth across more than one area. That the Witch of the Wilds, mysterious witches, have myths about them in more than our own lands. So instead of Flemeth, we have someone else. And his wish was granted. He obtained eternal life. Of course, Flemeth is real. We met her. But not eternal youth. His body became decrepit, and he used his vast wealth to seek out ways to preserve it. Some were magical, many were dangerous, and almost all of them were unsuccessful. What remains is an immobile mass of twisted flesh, and I think Xenon's mind has slowly decayed along with his body. He hid away in the Undercity and has slowly amassed a collection that's sure to amaze. If he invited you, he thinks you have the coin he needs to further his search for a cure. Just don't think of stealing anything. The golem is not for show. Although you're free to look around the shop, I wouldn't suggest staying over long. You might be present for one of the baths his servants give him hourly, to keep his flesh from becoming completely desiccated. Trust me, you don't want that. From a letter of unknown origin, 849 Blessed. I will trust it. Duty. I've dealt with the Flint Company mercenaries in Sundermount as well. There's the Wounded Coast. Oh, nice. We can make potions now. Elfwood potions. Elfwood was first used by the elves of Arlathan, hence the name. The root gave their medicines particular efficacy, so when the Imperium conquered the elves, the Magisters adopted its use, and its popularity spread to all corners of the Empire. Elfroot is a hardy plant with large green leaves that grows wild in many places. It's so common that it tends to show up in most gardens and fields, almost like a weed. Unlike a weed, however, most people appreciate having access to the wonderful little plant. The roots can be used with very little preparation. Rubbing some of the juice on a wound, for example, will speed up healing and numb pain. And chewing on a slice of root treats minor ailments like indigestion, flatulence, and hoarse throats. There are several varieties, but the most useful for herbalists are the bitter, gossamer, and the raw elfroots. An excerpt from the Botanical Compendium by Ines Arancia, botanist. Thank you, Ines. You seem like a very useful and sensible sort. Very practical. I appreciate the expansion of my knowledge by you. Okay.
Old Shemlin, your kind are not welcome among the Dalish.
What did you call me?
What's a shemlin?
An elven slur for human.
It means you're not one of the people, and you should leave now.
What are the Dalish?
Who are you people?
We are the last of the Eldhead.
Keep that in mind, Hawk. Elves you see elsewhere, figments of your imagination.
They have given up their identity to live among Shemlin. They're elven no more.
I don't want trouble.
I was given an amulet for someone named Marathari.
How do you know that name?
Wait, this is the one the Keeper spoke of.
A Shemlin? I thought she'd be an elf.
Enter the camp. Keeper Marathari has been waiting for you.
Cause trouble, and you'll meet our blades, stranger.
Good guardsman, bad guardsman.
Marathari, I was told to bring you this amulet.
Andaranatishan, travelers. Indeed, I am Keeper Marathari. Let me look at you. There's truth in your face. A rare thing in a human. Tell me how this burden fell to you, child.
Were you expecting me?
Your guard said you spoke of me. How did you know I was coming?
I listened. To the wind, to the birds, as the hunters do. To my dreams. I watched the stars. There is great wisdom to be found all around us, if you know how to listen for it. But I was not certain. Nothing is certain.
Why bring the amulet here?
Are you the leader of these Danish? Why did the witch tell me to bring this amulet to you?
I am the keeper of this clan. It is my task to guide my people and to ensure the old ways are not forgotten. As for Asha Bellinar, I am tied to her, just as you are, by a debt that must be repaid.
What does the amulet do?
Exactly what have I been carrying around? Is it magic?
It is a promise, child, made by one whose word still has weight. And therefore, it has terrible power. There are few things in this world stronger than a promise kept. Remember that.
That's very true. And I always keep my promises.
This amulet's owner rescued my family from the Blight. In return, I agreed to bring it to you.
I honor you for coming to me. But I'm afraid your part in this is not done yet. The amulet must be taken to an altar at the top of the mountain and given a Dalish rite for the departed. Then, return the amulet to me. Do this and your debt will be repaid.
Are you going to teach me this rite for the departed?
I will send my first with you. She will see to it the ritual is done. And when it is complete, I must ask that you take her with you when you go.
Interesting. I don't mind more people to work with, but that's unusual. I mean, I do know who the Dalish are. And I knew that when I asked them. But sometimes it's best to ask people to get an idea of what they see themselves as, so you can compare it and contrast it with your own perspective. But this is unusual. They usually want to stay alone and apart, and they deliberately separate and segregate themselves from us. Even the city elves have to go out and travel and leave. They don't even like to visit them. So that's strange that they asked me to take someone, to effectively get rid of someone. Why? Who are you sending?
Who is your first? First of what?
Your people would call her my apprentice, or heir. Meryl would have taken my place as keeper. But she has chosen a new path. Please, guide her safely from here.
That's unusual. She's essentially second in command. Again, I did know what a first was. I've read enough and I'm familiar enough with these people. Occasionally they would pass nearby and do some trading. It was always very tentative and at arm's length and distance. On both hands. But I'm educated enough to know that the first would be her second in command, effectively, her apprentice as she spoke. Which brings up an interesting question. Why would she want to get rid of her? Particularly since she's all they have to fall back on as a leader if the Keeper should pass. Very strange and die. Very strange. Nevertheless, that would be a powerful and valuable asset. As you wish.
If that's what you want.
It isn't what I want, but it is what she wants.
Interesting.
You will find Merrill waiting for you on the trail just up the mountain. Dareth Shira.
An elven first. A powerful and important individual who wishes to leave. It's very unusual, very strange. In the days after the rising of Zazakel, the Dark Ones covered every corner of the land. The Archdemon drove all the nations of the world before him, Shemlin and Elven alike. In the far north, where the hills wander the plains and the earth is eternally baked beneath the uncaring sun, the lands which the Shemlin call Anderfels, a clan of our people lived, struggling to survive the blight. Ilorin was their keeper, a hunter in his younger days, crafty as any wolf. He led his people always just ahead of the Darkspawn who chased them. But the old hunter knew that even Hala cannot run forever. They must turn and fight or be run down. At the foot of the Merdane, like Darkspawn cornered Ilorin's clan. That night, the moon was strangled by clouds, the earth concealed by a dread mist that rose out of nowhere, so that the Elven could not tell up from down. In the confusion, the Darkspawn attacked. But Ilorin had prepared for them. All around the camp, the hunters had strewn dry grass, brush, and brambles. Aha! When the sound of rustling footfalls began, Ilorin and the other Harin called upon the old magic. They struck out with lightning, and though the bolts missed the Darkspawn, they hit their target all the same. The sea of kindling lit, and not one of the dark creatures made it through the fire to reach Ilorin's clan. Very clever, from the tale of Ilorin, written by Zathrian, as it has been passed down from keeper to keeper for generations. I could have sworn I heard the name Zathrian somewhere, but I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway, I'm very thankful to him for writing that. That's a fascinating story. It's a wonderful story. So I hope someday to meet this Zathrian and thank him for writing this wonderful story. Amazing. Perhaps he knows more. I would like to learn. Let me see something. In time, the human empires will crumble. We have seen it happen countless times. Until then, we wait. We keep to the wild borderlands. We raise Hala and build Aravels and present a moving target to the humans around us. We try to keep hold of the old ways, to relearn what was forgotten. We call to the ancient gods, although they do not answer and have not heard us since before the fall of Arlathan, so that one day they might remember us. Elganon, the eldest of the sun, and he who overthrew his father. Mithal, the protector. Fenharal, the dread wolf. Andrul, the huntress. Falendin, the friend of the dead. Durthaman, the keeper of secrets. Gillanane, the mother of Hala. June, the master of crafts. And Silaise, the hearthkeeper. We gather every 10 years for the Arlathvan to retell the ancient stories and keep them alive. I probably mispronounced that. For when the human kingdoms are gone, we must be ready to teach the others what it means to be elves. As told by Gisharel, keeper of the Ralafaran clan of the Dalish Elves.
Shemlin. Wonderful. Make your business here quick.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Before the ages were named or numbered, our people were glorious and eternal and never changing. Like the great oak, they were constant in their traditions, strong in their roots, and ever reaching for the sky. They felt no need to rush when life was endless. They worshipped their gods for months at a time. Decisions came after decades of debate, and an introduction could last for years. From time to time, our ancestors would drift into centuries-long slumber. But this was not death, for we know they wandered the fading dreams. In those ages, our people called all the land Elvenon, which in the old language means place of our people. And at the center of the world stood the great city of Arlathon, a place of knowledge and debate, where the best of the ancient elves would go to trade knowledge, greet old friends, and settle disputes that had gone on for millennia. But while our ancestors were caught up in the forever cycle of ages, drifting through life at what we today would consider an intolerable pace, the world outside the lush forest and ancient trees was changing. The humans first arrived from Parvalan to the north, called Shemlin or Quicklings by the ancients. The humans were pitiful creatures whose lives blinked by in an instant. When they first met the elves, the humans were brash and warlike, quick to anger and quicker to fight, with no patience for the unhurried pace of elven diplomacy. But the humans brought things worse than war with them. Our ancestors proved susceptible to human diseases, and for the first time in history, elves died of natural causes. What's more, those elves who spent time bartering and negotiating with humans found themselves aging, tainted by the humans' brash and impatient lives. Many believed that the ancient gods had judged them unworthy of their long lives, and cast them down among the quicklings. If that's the case, then your gods are no good. Our ancestors came to look upon the humans as parasites, which I understand is similar to the way the humans see our people in the cities. The ancient elves immediately moved to close Elvenon off from the humans, for fear that this quickening effect would crumble the civilization. The fall of Arlathon, as told by Gisharoth, keeper of the Rarefan clan of the Dale Shelves. Some do see them as parasites, but honestly a lot more of them see them as essentially exploitable labor. They're an exploitable labor pool, and the way to help keep them diminished is to view them as to claim that they are parasites. A double negative whammy, which is unfortunate and unjust. But of course, there are two sides to every story in terms of the original fall. I don't deny that much of that is true, as far as we know, but there's other things that happened. I am sure. I have no denial that the humans did many wrong things. But there is almost certainly a second side to that as well.
Dalish crafting is second to none, I assure you.
Wonderful.
I believe you.
Make your business.
I am Master Island, a crafter for this clan. Forced to stay so close to this Shemlin city, I've seen my share of outsiders pass through our camp. Is there something you needed?
Tell me about your trade.
Are you a specialist? What sort of things do you make?
A Dalish crafter does many things. We create weapons, armor, anything our clan has need of.
I don't need anything right now.
Of course.